Bases dropped on Tuesday Thoughts here at Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer down here, unless you're BAM, where it's Soccer's Evening Show. John, hear you there. Thanks for hanging out with us, where it is 11:05 in Australia. BAM batting leadoff. And usually, BAM, for those of you that don't get the chance to watch us every day and know the history of the show, BAM will usually hang out, and this will be his way of kind of fading into getting ready for bed. And so he also runs the LAFC podcast down in Australia. So if you're looking for LAFC news from an Australian perspective, BAM's your man. And BAM hangs out with us every single day that he can. And usually it's for the first hour, maybe a little more, except on our Thursday, which is his Friday. And then he usually hangs out for the most of the show. Morning, Will. Here's your traffic for the week. Let's go through traffic for the week. First and foremost, hope that everybody who is south of us is battening down your proverbial hatches and making sure that you're going to be okay with Idalia working her way through south of the Nat line. And when Jim Cantori is in Cedar Key, Florida, wherever he is, wherever Jim Cantori is for the Weather Channel, you need to leave. And so he's in Cedar Key, Florida right now. And so that's where it looks like Idalia this time tomorrow is going to be making landfall. So everybody south of SDH headquarters, Nat line and below down in South Georgia, North Florida, in the Soganofla area, just be safe and be smart. And we're obviously thinking about you over the next couple of days. And with that going on, the traffic for today, fairly normal. Later today, we will have the USL programming up and running and the MLS Next Pro Week in Review program up and running. So those three programs will be up on the network. Your review preview shows, they will be up and running later today. Traditionally, on Wednesdays, it'll be Dylan Butler dropping by at 10 o'clock. To discuss what's on his mind in Major League Soccer. Bart Keeler comes in, and it will be what's on Bart's mind from an international perspective, from U.S. men's national team, women's national team. Probably we'll be getting into the Rubiales discussion with Bart, as well as reffing down here. So you have 25 and a half hours to get your reffing down here questions ready for Bart, 10:30 tomorrow as well. Nico Moreno coming in Thursday at 10:30 for the Pacific perspective, Thursdays with Nico. And, we may have guests drifting in and out, but obviously if we have guests coming in, we'll let you know about all those as we go. And Saturday, busy day for Atlanta United across the board. It is action at the Fraction, 5 o'clock start. It's an early start because the first team is in Frisco, Texas. So we will have the game for you Saturday afternoon, 15 minutes before kick, more like 18. 15 minutes before kick, we will be in Kennesaw getting everything ready for you. That game will be on the network. And then when we're done, go over to 92.9 The Game and catch up with Mike and Jason for their 8 o'clock Eastern, if my math is correct. 8 o'clock Eastern pregame show, 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app, 8:30 kick in Dallas. So it'll be a very, very busy Saturday. Doubleheader. Starts with us, finishes with 92.9 The Game with their time in Dallas, Texas. So that is your week as I know it. And obviously things will drift in and out as we go when it comes to everything going on as we get close to the end of the transfer window. So morning, OG, morning, Abby. And, the head security officer here at Office HD, he was not a happy man last night. So chief of security was not happy about what was going on yesterday. And let's see. So I guess in honor of Will's comments out of the blocks, I guess, what we will have to do is make sure that it's greeted appropriately. There we go. So there's some see, but for me, it's always going to be Eli Drake. It's not L.A. Knight, considering what we saw with Eli in the NWA. Sean's doing some fantastic work right now, by the way. And if you missed the Miz promo, then this is Monday Night Raw talk, I know, but it was great stuff. So we've got that. We got a lot to talk about this morning, and it's odds and ends. Obviously, with Tuesday Thoughts, it's whatever's on your mind you bring to the table. If there's anything that we didn't bring up yesterday when it comes to Atlanta United, then there's that. We've got a lot of stuff in Major League Soccer to talk about, ranging from Toronto to Miami, because there's actually things going on in Miami other than what we've seen on the field. We got to get into that. And we have a transfer window closing in a couple days in Europe. And so we've got all of the news that's fit to print there, all the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. There's a piece of news involving a player from Newcastle. Sorry, Alex, has nothing to do with transfers. We'll get into that. Requested reading of the day involves our friends at Yosemar Football. Filippo Clare had an interesting piece of news about particular country in Africa and Cameroon and their FA. Interesting piece of news there. We'll get into that. That's your required requested reading for the day. And obviously, if there's anything going on in Spain that we'll update, we'll update you there as well. So it's a busy day across the board. Busy day across the board. There's a lot to talk about. So opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. And I forgot to do this yesterday because the first hour ended up being the opening kickoff, just going off of what we were discussing with Atlanta United. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And that's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. Once again, thanks to everybody who has been kicking off their day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and at kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right. And probably, no probably about it, but my stance on the Saudi Pro League. And, I don't think I'm alone in any of this. But now it appears, and I know color me shocked, that Saudi Arabia is trying to figure out ways, in the Saudi Pro League specifically, trying to figure out ways how to gain spots in UEFA Champions League. Right now, the SPL competes in the Asian Football Confederation's Champions League. They had 4 entrants last year. This is from our friends at Front Office Sports. And while unconventional, this is their words. While unconventional, the European move wouldn't be unprecedented. UEFA's membership includes transcontinental countries Turkey, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Israel, Cyprus, and Armenia. Once again, according to Front Office, they compete in the UCL. It gives the league more credibility with the spending frenzy. There was an interesting piece of news involving spending frenzy, comparing Saudi Pro League to the Premier League. And apparently Premier League's net spend is down year to year. So after, I guess, the initial Todd Boehly and Boehly Clear Lake dropping all they're not dropping as much. They're still dropping them, but on the whole, net spending for the Premier League is down. Saudi Pro League is about 20% less than what we're seeing with the Premier League. So SPL, for those of you that are even remotely interested, where you can find it, where you can watch. I have no intention of doing so. Still broadly ranked outside the top 50 soccer leagues in the world. From teamform.com. Teamform.com gave us our most recent rankings of leagues. Premier League, La Liga, Serie A up 1-3. Bundesliga, Brazilian Serie A, right now at number 5. Ligue 1, Primera in Portugal, the Super League in Turkey up. Argentina's Primera up, Liga MX down. Greece's Super League right now is at number 11. Premier League in Russia is at number 12. Eredivisie at 13. Switzerland at 14. Colombia 15. Czech 16, Paraguay, Spain, Ecuador, and Bundesliga B puts you at number 20. Scanning down the list, trying to figure out where the U.S. is. And I need to know their metrics. Oh, yeah, world. I need to know. So, North and Central America. Okay. So, North and Central America team form has Major League Soccer at 4 behind the Costa Rican Primera and the Liga de Ascenso. I find that odd. So I'm already questioning these rankings that Front Office Sports linked to in this particular story. Bundesliga B tops your top 20. The championship is at 26 in England. Ligue 2, 35, ahead of Major League Soccer. Liga de Ascenso's at 42. They have the MLS down 2 spots to 56. Where the first league in Bulgaria is ahead of them, as is the Primera in Peru and the Irovnuli Liga in Georgia. Okay, so I'm already questioning this one. 56. I need to know their metrics. So team form, methodology. Let's click on methodology and they can find out. They can tell us the form and ability of football teams derived by examining past match results. Ratings derived from thousands of historical football results using a sophisticated rating system involving statistical models and mathematical formulae. They did use the word formulae. I did not. Every team can be compared with each other, including both national teams and club teams. Analyzed dozens of deciding factors, went through repeated trial and error. Then we found a way to turn the ability of football teams into meaningful numbers. It's trial and error unless they have something known that I don't. But so there. Yeah, 56, down from 54. Yeah, and Ricky, we are going to be getting into Canadian soccer. I was torn trying to figure out where to put John Herdman in the rundown. Is he kickoff material or is it news material? I figured this would take less time talking about the Saudi pro trying to get into Champions League than John Herdman. So, yeah, John Herdman will be batting like number 2. John Herdman's batting number 2. They'll be coming up in short order. So get your Herdman takes ready. So, yeah. Team form has Major League Soccer at 56, down 2 from 54. The SPL, one of the SPL top executives, talked to Bloomberg. And if I'm not mistaken, thought that I had already. See, now I'm trying to get to something here, and you ain't cooperating with me. You know, it's like 458-52242. Okay. 458-52242. Access code after I've registered. Good for me. All right. Chief Operating Officer Carlo Nora in an interview of Saudi Pro. Quote, "We are trying to be different, so any kind of format changing or improvements that can be introduced into the league will be welcomed. Completely committed to being in the AFC Champions League." And he talks about joining the Europe Champions League would probably be between its organizer, UEFA, and the Saudi Arabian Football Federation. And they mentioned Kazakhstan. UEFA referred Bloomberg to comments this month by its chief of football, Zvonimir Boban, responding to a report of Saudi club joining the Champions League in 2025. He told Croat newspaper Jutarnji List that it's a fabrication. Nora's comments came shortly before the Saudi Arabian national team appointed Roberto Mancini. How about that? A massive deal that they signed Mancini to. 2 weeks after he leaves his Italy gig. And then all of a sudden he gets this massive gig to join Saudi Arabia. Who knew? Saudi teams have spent $650 million in recent months, bringing in the players that we've talked about. We're doing whatever it takes to have those players coming to Saudi Arabia, quoting Nora, who previously worked for the WWE. Quote, that doesn't mean it's an open-ended budget, but we cannot handcuff ourselves if we want to bring some of the best talents here. We've got to pay the going rates to bring them here. As I sit here and try to go, Ronaldo, and of course they're going to talk about Ronaldo. Okay, so Carlo Nora basically is saying, and the idea of them joining by 2025, according to UEFA folks, is a fabrication. But Carlo Nora says, it's going to come down to UEFA and the Saudi national team and the Saudi FA. Good morning, Nick. We always know what we say about money. Money talks. So do not be surprised over the next handful of years if magically we see teams out of the Saudi Pro League transferring their way from the Asian Football Champions League over to UEFA and the Champions League because, hey, Saudi Arabia. What's it gonna cost? Pop open your wallet. All right. So that's opening kickoff. Saudis might be possibly fairly certainly angling to be in the Champions League sometime soon. So that's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use your QR code right there on the screen. For those of you who are watching on Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, maybe and later if you're watching on the YouTubes. But thanks to everybody who's been watching on other platforms. We obviously our home base is here on Twitch on the mornings, but we're also on the Twitters. We're also on the Facebook. And so we're working our way all the way through. But that is your QR code for those of you who are watching the show, however you're watching it. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15 for Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, John Herdman. John Herdman, how you doing? When all of this stuff came down yesterday, literally the first thing off the top of my head was, oh, my God, they've actually done it. They've actually done it. Toronto FC pulled the trigger and is bringing in John Herdman as their coach. We'll go through all of the quotes here and all of the thought pattern from all of these folks that were tied to this story. From our friends at the Canadian Press. Once again, this is how they phrase it. This is not how I'm delivering it to you. This is their phraseology. John Herdman has spent more than a decade successfully leading Canada at the international level. Beat 2, 3, 4. Now the longtime soccer coach faces perhaps his most challenging task of all, restoring moribund, dead, Major League Soccer club Toronto FC to its former glory. Herdman steps down, takes over for interim skipper Terry Dunfield October 1st. Canada Soccer stated that its coaching search will begin immediately. Decision to move on from the men's team comes about a year after it made its first World Cup appearance in 36 years, 3 years before Canada co-hosts the massive soccer showcase alongside the United States and Mexico. Quote, this is a statement released by John Herdman. I am keen to start this new opportunity with Toronto FC. Personally, it's the right time for me to step into a new challenge in my career, and the structure of a club environment is a context I've aspired to operate in. Having access to connect and collaborate with the staff and players daily allows for a different depth of development and connection, both on and off the pitch. All true. We'll keep going. Once again, the Canadian Press. He inherits a club so far removed from its peak in 2017 when it won MLS Cup, the Supporter Shield, and the Can Champ that it's almost unrecognizable. Toronto 3-13-10 has been dreadful this MLS season. The club is winless in 13 games and has just one win in its last 19 in all competitions. 1-14-4. Its high-priced Italian stars Insigne and Bernardeschi have largely underperformed and have been lightning rods for criticism, with Bernadeschi going on record earlier this season to voice his dissatisfaction with the club's playing style. And the coaching situation has been unstable since Greg Vanney resigned after the 2020 season to join LAG. Chris Armas, Javier Perez, and most recently Bob Bradley have failed to recreate Vanney's success. Bradley fired June 26 with Toronto sporting a 3-7-10 record. TFC has lost all 8 games in MLS and Leagues Cup action since Dunfield took over. Sidebar. That should tell you all you need to know about who wants to stay and who wants to go. If you don't want to be here a part of this, we continue. Quote, "There's work to be done, and we recognize that transformational change takes time," Herdman said. "We understand what it will take to make a difference, and I'm committed to getting this city and the club where it belongs." End quote. Toronto hopes to find that stability at the helm in Herdman, who comes to MLS after 13 successful years coaching Canada at the international level. He's the first manager to lead both a men's and women's team from the same country to World Cup qualification. 62, 32, and 14, Olympic bronze medals 2012 and 2016. Herdman moved to the men's national team in 2018, instrumental in turning around the fortunes of the club. Canada qualifies for the World Cup for just the second time. Canada topped the table in the third round of qualifying in CONCACAF. Win over Mexico in Edmonton. Not really saying a whole lot. And a draw with the CONCACAF powerhouse at daunting Azteca Stadium in Mexico City. And a win over the U.S. in Hamilton. While Canada lost all 3 of its games at the 2022 World Cup, it was the better team in large stretches in a 1-0 loss to then number 2 Belgium. Once again, this is written by the Canadian press. And Alphonso Davies scored the country's first World Cup goal in a 4-1 loss to semifinalist Croatia. Its final game was a 2-1 loss to Morocco, another semifinalist. Canada was ranked 95th in the world when Herdman took over. The men's team climbed to an all-time high of 33 in February of 22, currently ranked 43. Herdman, quote, "I'm grateful for the incredible opportunity to have represented Canada for the past 12 years, for the moments I've been able to share with the players, the staff, and supporters. The goal was always to leave the game in a better place, and I'm confident that goal has been achieved for Canada," end quote. Canada press goes back. Earlier this year, Herdman pleaded with the governing body for resources. Quote, "We've got to figure this out financially." After he said the night after Canada's 2-0 loss to U.S. in the Nations League final. "We've got to get serious about winning a World Cup. When you play at home, you get a chance to win it. You get a chance to a semifinal, get to a quarterfinal, semifinal, then get on the road to win it. And we're not serious. We brought a World Cup to our country, and we're not serious about winning it," end quote. Both Canadian national teams are in a bitter labor dispute with Canada Soccer. Players on the men's team recently expressed their disappointment about not having any matches scheduled for the upcoming FIFA international window. So that is John Herdman, your new head coach at Toronto FC. John Herdman, your new head coach at Toronto FC. But there's a lot of folks who could sit there and look at this and sit here and say, Herdman's bailing on Canada Soccer. As someone who, and here's his quote, like I said, after the Nations League final, "We're not serious. We brought a World Cup to our country. We're not serious about winning it." So in the middle of a labor dispute, John Herdman was approached by Bill Manning. And you'll remember, and this was, I'm going to get the Joshua Clokey article from The Athletic, where Bill Manning said that he was looking to find ways to fill the seats, and having John Herdman there would do it. The continued instability, and this is Joshua Clokey at The Athletic, the continued instability within Canada Soccer, with Canada Soccer's financial state moving forward, as well as a fractured dressing room under Herdman after the World Cup, contribute to him taking the TFC job. TFC is just 9 matches remaining, not mathematically eliminated from postseason contention. They're last place in the East, 19 points after 26 matches. No word on Herdman's immediate replacement. Canada's next match is a friendly against Japan on October 13th. So you've got that. Clokey this morning goes back to June 18th. Goes to the time when when Herdman admonished the Fed from the quote that we were just discussing. Canada's head coach had just finished admonishing his own federation in his post-match press conference. Herdman had done so with Canada Soccer's interim general secretary and his former assistant, Jason DeVos, sitting a few rows away from him. DeVos sat expressionless as Herdman called out Canada Soccer for not providing resources comparable to Canada's rivals, not being serious about winning a World Cup Canada will co-host in 26. Minutes after the press conference was over, Herdman was tracked down and asked a simple follow-up question. What happens if the money you want doesn't come? Remember the idea of filing for bankruptcy floated by DeVos? Didn't go through with it. Herdman replied that maybe he'd have to consider if he was right for the job. In the days that followed the loss, multiple sources briefed on the matter told The Athletic Herdman's representation began reaching out to various club sides to float his name for any possible job vacancies. So dating back to the Nations League press conference, according to Joshua Clokey, who, by the way, has a very cool book out about Les Voyageurs, Herdman was already kicking the tires after that press conference. Maybe this isn't the place for me. If Canada Soccer is not going to be investing, I don't want to be here. You know, I'm out. Maybe I should kick the tires on some other stuff. Just saying. Clokey continues. One of the teams his representation contacted was Toronto FC, who fired Bob Bradley on June 26. 2 months of discussion, eventually named TFC head coach. Herdman sent a general email to players on Monday to inform them of his decision. Form letter. Dear Alfonso, comma, and you're hoping that you send it with the right name header. Or maybe you just send, Dear players, y'all, comma, hey you, comma, fellow countrymen, comma. That way you avoid the issue of sending the wrong email with the personalized name to the wrong person. Y'all, comma. It is at this point of my career where I feel like leaving Canada Soccer is in my best interest. Therefore, I'm leaving my position as the head coach of the men's Canada Soccer national team and heading to Toronto FC, period. I will be taking over that job on October 1st. Until then, I will help Canada Soccer with its transitional efforts and trying to find the new head coach that will lead them to a successful World Cup bid in 2026, period. Yours sincerely, comma, John Herdman. Sorry, yours sincerely. Or no, it was an honor to serve as your head coach in one of the best times in Canada Soccer history on the field, comma. Yours always, comma, John Herdman. Send. Something like that. A general email. I don't know if it was me. Now, like I said, it's me. I probably would have taken some time to reach out to some of the players on the roster, if not all of them, over the next couple of days, or leading up to the announcement. Call a couple a day. Hey, call me, or shoot them a text. Hey, call me real quick. I'm going to talk to you about something. Have that kind of interpersonal communication, but that's just me. Clokey. But that June evening in Vegas felt like the beginning of the end for the marriage between Herdman and Canada Soccer. It was a divorce that just months earlier, as Herdman stood shivering, drenched in Gatorade in the middle of BMO Field in Toronto, having just qualified for the World Cup, seemed implausible, yet multiple sources in and around the team detailed to The Athletic that over the course of a few months, over a few months. So much has changed. 2018, he threatened to leave his post as women's team coach for a possible job offer to lead the England national team. He wanted Canada Soccer to give him a crack at the men's team. Federation realized they couldn't let him leave. Canada Soccer then fired Octavio Zambrano after 9 months, handed the keys to Herdman. They qualified for the World Cup. Herdman was called the most important person in Canadian soccer. From Clokey, not a stretch. Herdman enjoyed unprecedented talent at his disposal. Canada's rise was not thanks to him alone, but Herdman's power within Canada Soccer was unrivaled. According to multiple sources with the knowledge of a meeting between Nike and Canada Soccer, it was Herdman who insisted that the sportswear giant become the kit provider for Canada Soccer. Sat in meetings with Nike reps, told the reps Canada Soccer would do whatever necessary to land Nike as their kit provider. Canada Soccer then signed a deal that, at least early on during the contract, only provided Canada with free equipment. Beat 2, 3, 4. Herdman would go on to make significant changes to the way Canada's men's national team prepared, added multiple new members to his staff, including coaches, physiotherapists, and analysts. Team traveled on charter flights with new regularity, arriving to away match destinations earlier than they would have during past qualification cycle. Changes sold inside the Fed as a key step to preparing a team for matches in ways they never had in the past. Results spoke for themselves. Canada Soccer never enjoyed the financial resources that the U.S. and Mexico do. And when the bill came for the efforts to push Canada to the World Cup, Canada Soccer found themselves in such dire financial straits they couldn't afford to schedule friendlies during the upcoming September window. Clokey, if 2022 was a year of goodwill with Herdman, the men's team in Canada Soccer 2023 has been a year in which the ugly side of the coin was exposed. Canada Soccer could not afford to continue spending the way Herdman wanted to. Tensions between Herdman and Canada Soccer grew midway through 23. He wanted the team to be competing against top-level international opponents to prepare for the 24 Copa America and beyond. Canada Soccer presented with the opportunity to book friendlies in the September window against South Korea and Saudi Arabia, but a lack of resources and concerns over whether Canada Soccer could spend as much on the women's team as they would in the fall men's international windows, which was only exacerbated by the behind-the-scenes turmoil between Canada Soccer and the men's and women's national teams, both currently without collective bargaining agreements, saw Canada Soccer back away from those friendlies. So Herdman was stuck. How do you advance a national team unable to challenge itself the way its rivals were? Herdman's strengths as a coach are centered around his man management and his ability to motivate players emotionally. Rousing speeches and unorthodox motivational tactics, such as having an actual sword designed for the team, allowed him to make connections with younger and less inexperienced players early in his tenure. But as the pressure on Canada to get results against top-level opponents increased, a divide within his team began to grow. After a disagreement between Herdman and Alphonso Davies over Herdman's decision to deploy Davies in multiple positions throughout the World Cup, multiple sources with an understanding of the relationship between the two said things broke down between the coach and the star player. The loss to the U.S. saw Herdman lose his footing within the dressing room. Some players didn't respond to the motivational approach in the same way they did in the World Cup. Need for more tactical nuance and specific instruction. When Herdman tried to keep a hold on his team late in the tenure, it wasn't received well. Longtime goalkeeper Milan Borjan had always been one of Herdman's most vocal supporters. Herdman trusted Borjan too, naming him to the team's leadership group. Younger keepers, though, Crépeau, St. Clair. Borjan was included in the Gold Cup squad. 2 draws. Herdman wanted to turn to St. Clair, so the message wasn't received well by Borjan, according to Clokey. Canada announced Borjan had left the team due to an undisclosed injury. Multiple sources with an understanding of the relationship between Herdman and his players, said Borjan left the team out of frustration due to lack of playing time. So in late June 2023, Herdman recognized he did not necessarily have the ears of every player in his dressing room with key matches on the horizon in 24. Very quickly, Toronto FC president Bill Manning became smitten with the idea of landing Herdman to turn around TFC. Manning pushed the MLSE board hard on the idea of landing Herdman, organized a brief meeting in August. Now we get into what Herdman is walking into. 29th points per game, 29th in goal difference, 28th in passes allowed per defensive action, 24th in shots and chances created, 25th in shots on goal, 29th in XG per shot taken, 21st chances conceded, 21st shots on goal conceded, 18th in field tilt from True Media. But now, Herdman goes to Toronto FC. What do they do about the national team? I know I had mentioned Bobby Smirnionis as the new head coach for Toronto FC. Now they're thinking Smirnionis for the national team. Won 4 CPL titles. But you still have all of this stuff with Canada Soccer Business hovering over that group's head, men's and women's national team. I get the idea. I get it. I get the idea that if John Herdman felt like he was losing or has lost the locker room and the financials aren't there, maybe I should jet. I get that. But in the Clokey article, and I'll post that link for those of you that can duck into the Athletic. That's why traditionally in these situations, I don't know how many of you get the Athletic and how many can look at these kinds of articles. So that's why I'll go through them for some who may have subscriptions and some who may not. So Herdman loses control of the locker room. Had his guys, wanted to change things up. One of his main voices gets pissed and leaves. You lose the locker room. You're not getting the funding after you called out your Fed when you could do it. And so you're thinking maybe I should go. You go to Toronto FC, where Bill Manning specifically said, once again, Joshua Clokey back at The Athletic a couple of articles ago, having a guy like Herdman, and I'm paraphrasing, should put butts in seats. Michael, you're absolutely correct. It's articles like this and guys like Joshua that do fantastic work up north. Makes the Athletic subscription worthwhile. Only for $2, though. I'm not paying the $8. I'll pay the $2 a month. I'm not paying the $8 a month. And their UK work is unrivaled. But that was with the what we saw with Herdman, what we talked about, works to a point. You piss off Alphonso Davies, that's not going to go well. And that's just in an international window. That is in an international tournament. Bill Manning somehow thinking that John Herdman can bring in these international native talents and have them for Toronto FC, where Bill Manning will be more than happy to spend the money to bring them in, to fit them in under whatever cap constraints exist. I understand where Bill Manning is going. I don't agree with where Bill Manning is going with his thought process, but I get it. You go with the big name, the guy that's planted the maple leaf right there at the 50 or the 55. Sorry. He will wrap himself around the flag. He's done it. He's been successful with the women's team, been successful with the men's team to a point. Then he pissed off, apparently, according to Joshua Clokey, the leaders in the side, some who had his back. In an international window, in an international tournament. I will pose this question to you. What makes anybody think that with this kind of a track record, and if I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong, that John Herdman won't have these same issues as head coach at Toronto FC? And you've got to be around these players longer. You're around them every day. Not just in a tournament situation, not just in a friendly or a training camp situation, but apparently Canada Soccer doesn't have those because they don't have the money to pay for them. And I know that you guys in the Twitch pitch and those of you who've been watching have been coming up with ideas as to whom could help out Canada Soccer, and you're all correct. But the thing is, you've got to reach out to those folks. Hey, you want to be a part of this groundswell, and do it now. Don't do it in 25. Hey, we've got a World Cup coming up. We want you to be a part of it. No, do it now. All those names, all those entertainers that you guys are listing, hit them hard now. We want you to be a part of something and be a part of something from the ground up internationally. The world is coming to Canada by 26. We want you to be a part of spearheading this movement and get everybody behind us. Start that now. Should have started it when, frankly, it was announced. But with John Herdman and his motivational tactics suited for younger individuals, we'll say. I mean, legitimately, if I'm in that locker room and I'm a veteran talent and he comes out with a sword, that's not going to have me more motivated to do things. That's not going to have me more motivated to do things. And so, Bart, in addition to probably talking Rubiales tomorrow and reffing down here, since I know that I see you in the timeline, let's talk Canada Soccer too. Let's talk CONCACAF tomorrow at 10:30. John Herdman to Major League Soccer because Bill Manning thinks he can get butts back in seats at BMO because you're bringing in the national hero, who really should be Davies, Alfonso, and the players. But bringing in the name John Herdman, hey, he got us World Cup success on the men's and women's sides. And he's now our head coach. How does he interact on a daily basis, 24/7, 365, with the players on that roster? And if apparently the relationship with Canadian national team talent is not all that it is not all Maple Leafs and maple syrup, who is going to want to be a part of that? Is Jason Hernandez going to continue to be general manager? Because that's another question with Toronto FC. How much player control will John Herdman have at Toronto FC? How much? Will he try to bring in national talent? Will he try to bring them back into the fold from overseas? If you do, you're going to be spending a lot of money. Not that Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment won't spend a lot of money to spend at transfer fees and things like that. But who is going to want to come along for the ride? Who can be acquired to come along for the ride? What does this roster look like? What does this roster look like? And who's in charge of making sure that the roster is what John Herdman wants it to be? Is it John Herdman? Is it John Herdman and the general manager? Is it the general manager? Those are questions for me. Who's in charge of this roster makeup? And in a squad of 28, you're looking at contracts. At the end of this year, you have decisions. Victor Vasquez, CJ Zapong, Greg Ranjitsing, technically, yes, you do. He's your backup keeper. Io Akinola, Christian Gutierrez, Richie Larea, who just fell down again, Jordan Peruzza, Jordan Faria, Amy Mabika, Temi Antonoglu, Anthony Courage. You'd think that with Toronto FC 2, I'd remember that one. Hugo Mbonge, Jesus Batis, Luca Gavran up from the twos, Alonso Coelho, and some other, TFC 2 players, Perlman, Stefanovic, Simmer-Mancic. That's your 2023 list right there. How many names was that? In a roster of 28? 3, 6, 9, 20 names-ish. 15 to 20 names that you've got to figure out what you want to do because their contracts are up at the end of 23. And remember, Insigne and Bernardeschi, their contracts are good through the end of 26. Technically, Insigne's through fiscal year 25, June of 26. Bernardeschi to the end of the calendar year. You've got to get rid of Insigne and Bernardeschi. And then the 15 or so guys whose contracts are a combination of being FC2s and what have you. I was trying to find the Bradley, but it doesn't list a date. And considering he's injured right now, that's probably the why. Bradley's probably another part of this discussion, as is Mark Anthony Kaye and Tomas Romero and Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy. So you're probably looking at close to 20 dudes. 20 dudes plus Bernardeschi and Insigne. 22 dudes on a roster of 28, possibly. Well, and I'm also including some twos guys in there too. So 20-ish out of a roster size of maybe mid-30s. That's what you're staring at right now. Who is going to be in control of this roster build or rebuild? And will they, and how long of a contract? Now that I've got myself curious here. The announcement yesterday on Herdman, did they say how long of a deal it was? John Herdman introductory press conference is this afternoon at 3 o'clock. I will not be attending that press conference. Let's see. TFC Communications. Okay, big quote. Coaching staff announced at a later date. Does not mention the term of the deal. Bill Manning. John is more than just a coach. He's a great leader and a culture builder. We look forward to John having the same positive impact with TFC as he's had with Canada Soccer, end quote. So that's where you are. Yeah, just bring Josie back. You had Dio, and then Dio got injured, and then Dio got disinterested. You've got to tear it all down. But once again, who's in control of it? How long are they in control of it? And is it absolute control, or is it a collaborative effort? Like I said, is Jason Hernandez still going to be general manager? Is John Herdman going to take over both October 1st? I think we've seen, going back to folks like Bill Parcells, the value of having a two-person hire and not a one-person hire. Head coach and general manager, two separate dudes. You don't want the same title on the business card. You don't want head coach / GM. You want a head coach and a GM. But all of this stuff that Joshua Clokey brought up in the Athletic article, I get I get it. I get it. I get it. I get why John Herdman would sit there and go, fam, I'm out. I'm out. I get it. But, and it is a large conjunction, there's a lot of work to do, and how much patience are the players going to have with John Herdman? How many of the big names do come in, or are they just getting paychecks and they're there to do a job? They're not there to be there with John Herdman. How much patience does John Herdman get? How much of a leash does he get? All of these things for a team that's got to be blown up. Bam, only 3 Toronto players are on the MLSPA free agents list, and they're all option players. This is a tall order. And Bill Manning has put all of his poker chips in the middle of the table. He's gone all in on this. For a team that is chasing wooden spoon and is closer to that than qualifying for the playoffs, not just this year, but in subsequent years. A lot of work to do. You got to tear it down and build it back up again. And there's a lot of faith that John Herdman can be that guy. It's going to have to be younger guys if John Herdman is going to be sticking to his shtick of doing what he's been doing. And once again, Bart with the point. It's another teardown on the horizon, and it'll be led by a man who's never managed a club team before. Check, double check. Never done this on the club level. That's why I mentioned the day-to-day interactions. National teams, you bring in the all-stars, you manage them, you manage them and you juggle them for, a week here, a week there. Then you've got to come up with a philosophy. Whereas on a national team, it's basically, okay, what can I do with the guys that are here? John Herdman has to come into this gig with a philosophy. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to have. Here's how we're going to do it. You got to come in with that. You've got to build this. I mean, this is literally almost a ground up build. I mean, this is that subdivision that we always drive by, and we've seen them. One reason or another, the funding wasn't there. We drive by, look at the side of the road, coming spring 2025. And they have these drawings of these 3- and 4-story condos that are in rows and everything. It's a great artist rendering. And that fence line has been there for like 2 or 3 years, and nothing has changed. All you see are like the fiberglass poles sticking out of the ground where power, light, and water are supposed to be. All the pipe ideas. You see no homes being built, but you see the pipes that are sticking out of the ground. That's the subdivision that John Herdman is driving into right now. He sits there, he looks at this and sits there and says, man, we could do some really cool things here. Let's start building some houses. That's what you've got. You've got that subdivision that's down there in between the office buildings that folks want to sit there and either build apartments or condos. John Herdman sits there and it's like, man, basically it is Hutch Weeds for everybody. He sits there and he's looking at it going, there's something here. But how many folks are going to be in the ride with him, and who can he bring in to be a part of this? And I'm not just talking assistant coaches. This is a 24/7, 365 day a year thing. This isn't a week here with all-stars, a week here with all-stars, and a month with the all-stars in a national tournament. This is a build. and a philosophy and a foundation and an idea. And Nick's, to your point, his attitude, without a real CV to back it up in this league, doesn't fly with guys who are making more than he is. I mean, the sword as an idea. He tries to bring the sword back out. This is almost like Spurrier coaching the Redskins or Urban Meyer coaching the Jags. You're trying to cater to a younger demo with all of these tricks, and there are dudes who'll be coming in there who'll be making seven figures, and they've seen it all, and they're going to look at you and go, nah, bruh. Which version of Herdman do we get? Do we get that one with the swords? Or do we get somebody who is going to take elements of what he's learned, build this foundation, and figure it out? That's what we're looking at in Toronto. Canada soccer is another thing entirely, and we'll get into that tomorrow with Bart. Like I said, Bart's on notice with international team stuff. Canada, Spain, and it seems like the entire country is now rebelling against the RFEF, as they should. Canada, Spain, anything else on his mind, reffing down here. So 24 and a half hours from now when Bart hops in, that's what we're tackling. So all of you get your thoughts together for Bart tomorrow morning at 10:30. John Herdman, tall order. Welcome to Toronto and Toronto FC. Bill Manning, you have pushed everything to the center of the table, sir, for someone who has never coached a club team before. Be good, Bam. It's midnight for Bam, so he's crashing now. So that's the discussion from hour number one. Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer, coming from the colleges to the pros. That's what we're staring at. At least that's what I think. And I'm being kind. Since it is the halfway point, we have cleared 10 o'clock. It is that time where we talk about our sponsors, who we couldn't do it without. Couldn't do it without you guys either, but, along with my point. Time to read a promo. Now that I'm finally in the office, I can do this. Rotor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's Lemonize Service. Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching however you're watching, not just on Twitch, but on Facebook and on the Twitters. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, they've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use a Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors, to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Offering a turnkey process makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. It sounds really official. I don't know what that means. Kind of the environment, I do know what that means. Offering a very green way of going about getting rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. We like that. Different than Febreze or our masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard and grab said masking agent, spray it in the air, there's a reason they call it a masking agent. Because all you're doing is masking the odor, not attacking the problem, like our friends at the Lemonize Service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing one of two ways to make it affordable for you, either by the cubic foot or parts per million. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you ever have any questions, you can ask Mike Conti, I think. I think Mike actually used to Lemonize in the past. But any other questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to their website. ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, Lemonize.com/Atlanta, because you use the Atlanta so they can tell what part of the world that you are addressing them from so they can help you directly with your problems. ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, Lemonize.com/Atlanta. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, a Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Tuesday with your Tuesday thoughts. And a lot of thoughts having to do with Major League Soccer. Got a lot of that because We talked a lot about Atlanta United yesterday, and if there's anything on the table for Atlanta United that is still there in your mind, go ahead and drop that in the table here in the second hour. But we've got to talk about stuff in Miami, off the field stuff, which eventually will be on the field stuff, but off the field stuff there. We talked a lot about Toronto. Boy, did we talk a lot about Toronto. And yeah. And the other element in all of this, Knicks just doesn't like the guy. So there's that. It's an uphill battle. Yeah, I mean, John Herdman comes across as someone who's very sandpapery, very confident in himself. Just ask the Croat newspapers. And guy who's not afraid to tell you what he thinks, especially when he thinks he's got the power to do so in the room, like he did after losing the match in Nations League to the United States. He's got to make sure that he's got tactics and that he doesn't budge. Like I said, he's got to come up with a philosophy. He really does. This isn't where you can do like one thing in one match and then change it up completely and then change it up completely. Like we said, having Alphonso Davies doing 3 different things in a tournament, that's not going to fly well. You can do that in a tournament setting. You can still piss people off. You can still do that in a tournament setting. But in a 34-game schedule, 36-game schedule, you cannot do that. If you do that, you will be found out very, very quickly. You will lose your locker room just as quickly. It will not be successful just as quickly. So John Herdman has to figure out a philosophy 24/7, 365, not just a month at a time or a week at a time. That's what he's building here. He's got to build from within, and I mean from within him, first and foremost. He's got to figure out what's inside of him and see how that applies. So that's what's going on. That's what's going on in Toronto. That's an lot going on in Toronto. Great work by Joshua Cloakey, by the way, and our friends at The Athletic. I mentioned Miami, and the reason I mentioned Miami is that, hallelujah, they've broken ground. According to Michelle Kaufman, they have broken ground. It's finally under construction. 25,000 seats, I still think is too damn small. Inter Miami announced yesterday construction has begun on Miami Freedom Park, and it began earlier this month, apparently. Quoting Michelle, fencing has gone up, crews and heavy equipment now on site performing earthwork and site work. The new stadium, which includes the 58-acre public park and entertainment district at Freedom Park, scheduled to open in 25. Just in time for that tournament in 26, when somebody or a couple of different somebodies can be some ambassadors for you. The official groundbreaking ceremony for the 131-acre project will take place later this year, hopefully not when Mother Nature is boring down upon you. Quote, according to Jorge _Moss on the X, with Inter Miami, my family set out to build something truly transformational. In just 4 years, we've changed the perception worldwide of American soccer. As we commence construction of Miami Freedom Park, that same vision guides us in creating a multifaceted space. Yeah, okay, I'm done. Yeah, you're just like, you're talking. It's a release. $2.5 $150 million deal for Messi. Plan is for him to play at Freedom Park in 25. The plan includes the $150 million deal includes equity in the team upon his retirement from the league. Freedom Park lease and redevelopment plan for the former Melreese Country Club, previously approved by voters in the City of Miami Commission. Remember all that fun? Leasing and commercial partnership efforts underway to attract partners, tenants, retailers, including established and emerging brands, according to the team. They brought on experienced mega project and sports-anchored real estate investment and development veteran Devin McCorkle to lead the effort as president of Miami Freedom Park. McCorkle, Centennial Yards, helped lead the creation of that as the owner and master developer of the project anchored by State Farm Arena, Mercedes-Benz, and Centennial Olympic Park. So McCorkle knows what he's doing, because we've seen him do it. Then there's a quote from McCorkle, Architectonica from Miami. They are building along with CAA Icon the stadium. Following delivery of the stadium and initial retail and entertainment offerings in 25, Freedom Park will deliver additional retail, hotel, and commercial phases through 2030. All that from the release. And this is the shtick. I think they are playing Open Cup final at Hard Rock Knicks. I think that did come to the fore. I think that was announced practically immediately after everything happened. Bart, I think any MLS stadium built after this year that's smaller than 30,000 short-sighted and a fear of betting on yourself. Michael Head, why do these teams build such small venues? Lack of vision, crazy. I agree with you both. 30,000 should be your marker. 30,000 should be your marker. And I'm, Freedom Park, it's going to be shiny. Yeah, great, but you're still too small. You're still too small. All right. Since we're getting into this, I wanted to see what this looks like. So, here we go. And this is done by our friends, the Bastion. Open Cup final. Yeah, it's all right. Hang on. All right, so let's find out about. Hang on. Let's get into the schedule here, because I know some folks are saying that it's going to be at DRVP and K, and others are saying it's at Hard Rock. I thought it was going to be at Hard Rock. Hang on. Tuesday, September 27. Open Cup. You click on it. Wow, it is at Drive Pink. Oh, that's so bad. Right now, listed on the Inter Miami website, it's listed at Drive Pink. Wow. I guess because of football. The other football. I guess because of football. Wow. Okay. That ain't good. Franco Panizzo. Inter Miami announced the final will be at DRVP and K. This was back 5 days ago. Okay. Yeah, 5 days ago, Franco Panizzo. Miami, Houston, Drive Pink. That's a shame. That is an absolute shame. Sorry, I have to hydrate. Wow. Okay. So it's a Drive Pink. That's not good. That is not good. Because I know that we had all had the initial talk of Hard Rock. Yeah, 300 plus cheap seats. Wow. All right. Jarrett, we've been discussing John Herdman for the most part of the first hour.
On purpose?
Yeah, well, considering he's the new head coach at Toronto FC.
Yeah, I guess he is, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Yes, basically, and we kind of reconstructed that whole thing. And it has now come out that they've started construction on Freedom Park down in Miami yesterday. 5 days ago, Franco Panizzo said that the Open Cup final is not going to be at Hard Rock. It's going to be at DRVP and K, and cheap seats are $300 a piece.
What the? Jesus Christ.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So just so we're clear, on one hand, this is dumb. On the other hand, it might not have been possible to get into Hard Rock. There might be another event.
Yeah, like college football or something, and turning the stadium around and things like that.
Yeah, turning the stadium around is tough, especially on grass. Because you want the field to be in playable shape, but still, I mean, it's not great.
No. And I can sense the migraine coming through your forehead right now.
Well, it's not easy. You didn't, you could not have predicted the future on everything. It just sucks that that's where they're gonna have to do it. Yeah, you make it work, I guess. But yeah, I guess gonna roll in the high school bleachers again.
Yeah, they're gonna have the temps in the corners, and it's gonna be at 20 whatever. And we were also discussing the notion that right now, if you have in Major League Soccer a plan for a stadium, because the plan right now for Freedom Park is only 25. If you have a plan, and Dylan Butler Estates, I think, was 27, if that, for NYCFC. That
I wish it was closer to 29.
you need to be in that 30 range right now if you're coming into the league.
I would like you to be, and if you can expand it later, that makes sense. Yeah, I know, Bart. Like, I know Bart. Nobody like it's. We don't know if they've ever really considered Hard Rock. It makes such logical sense to play a cup final with Messi.
Yeah,
at the biggest stadium in the area. Marlins aren't doing anything. Could play it at Marlins Park. Bring back the giant gaudy statue.
there you go.
Because the last time we put a football field in there was, I think, the BYU Memphis game, which was bowl season, like 2016.
And then they got into a fight, which was fantastic.
Yes. They got into an amazing fight in that game. Yeah, I know they may have never even seriously, and yeah, Jorge Moss, take it for what it's worth when he talks. But it would love to see it in a bigger venue, but we'll see. I'm glad they're getting their Freedom Park thing situated.
Yep.
Fine.
Yes.
Cool.
Fine.
Whatever. I didn't. Yeah, the migraine's coming through now of Toronto. We have to have a conversation about Toronto, though.
Yeah, we do.
Because Tim Bezmachenko was really good at his job. Is really good at his job. Toronto had a really fun run there from 2015, really, I guess. 2015, 16, up through 19. You exclude 18. 18 was weird because 18 is a year where they didn't even make the playoffs. They bashed Atlanta at the end of the season, but they were so banged up. They had Michael Bradley playing center back because they didn't have any more bodies to play center back, and they came within Michael Bradley trying to hit a space station with a penalty away from winning CCL.
Yeah,
it was a weird year for them, but March 15, 16, 17. 19 good years. The more and more as we add more rings to this tree, the more and more it looks like Toronto is just going to be clown shoes with the exception of those 4 years.
Yeah. Because obviously the solution to a problem is to spend more money.
Well, you got to spend it right, and I appreciate the ambition of going to get Insigne and building around him. I appreciate you bringing in Bernardeschi. I appreciate that you went for it. You went and got Bobo with the expectation that, try and see if Bob could do what he had done at LAFC. Because you were going to give him some high-end talent.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't expect it to just implode like this. I don't know, and here's the thing: I don't know the makeup of Toronto because I don't know if last year when they just didn't have fullbacks, if that was the GM or if Bob got to make those decisions because somebody decided that fullbacks were optional.
Yeah,
they're really not, especially in the modern game.
No, they're not. No,
you should have those.
Yes,
it's like
backline is good.
It's like we got all these amazing pass rushers who are going to rack up double-digit sacks. Great. Do you have some corners who can? I don't know. You have a secondary who can
can you defend?
Who can defend at least for a second, so that your quarterbacks have to go through progressions. Oh wait, we don't need that. We have pass rushers. But but you need to have both things here, and they didn't. So I don't know whose decision that was last year. It was a bad one, and they do not seem to have decided. They made some fixes to it this year, but overall they seem to have not. They just kind of doubled down on parts of it. And in this last window is, I think, the time where they went in the summer window where they went, "Hey, this ain't it. We're gonna just we're gonna we're just gonna wipe the board clean. We're gonna spray some spray on it. We're gonna wipe it off, and we're just gonna start over going into 24." Insigne, Bernadeschi gonna be gone, I'm sure.
Yeah, they need to.
Like, someone free Sean Johnson. Yeah, this, like, I'm assuming, like, does Michael Bradley leave? Because, like, I'm curious, like, if everything is kind of bad there with him as well.
Yeah.
Whew. Just let Toronto. We talk about this, John, in college football. Like, when we do like a year zero.
Yes.
Like when you bring in somebody, and they're just starting over.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it as year zero. This isn't year one. This is a year zero.
Yeah.
Except for my favorite description lately has been Hawaii with Timmy Chang taking over because of who was old boy who was coaching out there,
Well,
who used to be the Arizona head coach.
Oh, Todd Graham?
Yeah, Todd Graham ruined that program.
He
So like
did.
Timmy Chang's in like a year -1.
Yes.
He's cleaning up a huge mess.
Yeah.
Give me Toronto at a year zero next year. Like, we're gonna make fun of Toronto if they're bad.
Oh yeah.
If they're good, we'll be surprised and happy, and give them their flowers. My expectations for them next year are, man, just get this thing out of the ditch and get it back on its wheels. I won't hold.
No, I mean you need Ice Road Truckers with Herdman starring in it to get that year zero or year -1 for Toronto FC. But I just don't know. He's got to figure out who he is first and foremost. And I don't think presenting swords in the middle of the Toronto FC locker room is going to do it.
Are we just slowly circling up on some black hole where MLS and college football are blending together and we care more about winning the press conference?
I mean,
because it kind of feels like John Herdman's going to go out there and win a press conference.
Oh, absolutely. No, what I had said.
And if that's what's important to you, then we got to have some conversations.
I mean, in hour number one, I said that John Herdman to Toronto FC smacked of Steve Spurrier to the Redskins and Urban Meyer to the Jags.
Well, I mean, I know I could see it.
He's never coached on the club level.
He hasn't, but he has taken Canada to their highest heights in the modern era. Now, can he be more than that? Great question. Because that's the question we now have to answer. Can he do and be more than that?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're all going to learn that lesson together.
Yeah.
I invite you all to watch that one with great attention, because if he can, then you have basically like Canada, the club team. If he can't, then we have, basically put another clown into the clown car that is Toronto's life, except for like Greg Vanny and those couple of magical years just kind of sitting outside wondering why everyone is in the clown car.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you're also looking at what we were talking about. Oh no. Tottenham is going to be wearing their new brown third kit in their League Cup game tonight. Oh, good Lord.
Okay.
It just came across. It's Tottenham and Fulham in League Cup tonight, and this brown kit from Spurs. Good Lord. That just no. All right. Now that I got distracted by really ugly kits down here. Now, and we were talking about Messi and Hard Rock and Drive Pink and needing to have stadia that are 30,000 or more these days. And I mean, if you look at how things are, and I'll do this as quick as I can. Allianz 19.4, Rio Tinto 20,200, Audi's 20,000, B of A is a stadium, BC Place 22,120, expandable to 54.5, BMO at 28.3, expandable, and they're going to do that for the World Cup. BMO LA 22,000, Children's Mercy 18.4, City Park All Caps Park 22.5, it's too small. Dick's 18,061, built in 2007. Dignity Health Sports Park 27,000, but it was built 20 years ago. Drive Pink 21,000 for now. You're going to a 25,000 seat stadium. It's too small. Exploria's at 25.5. The Revs 20,000 or 65,878. Geodis 30,000. That should be your marker. Downtown Columbus 20,371. Lumen 37.7 or 68.7. Mercedes-Benz 42.5 or 71. PayPal 18,000. Portland 25.2. Austin 20,738. It's too small and it's 2 years old. Red Bull 25,000. You're not getting 25,000 in there except to see Messi. Saputo 19.6. You've been there. You know what that looks like. Hell in a Shell 22,000 for the Dynamo. Soldier Field 25 or 61.5. Subaru 18.5. FC Dallas 19.1. TQL 26. Yankee Stadium 30,003 or 47.3. That's what you're staring at right now with Major League Soccer and your capacities. And the buildings that are coming aboard, I think Dillon Butler Estates is 27. And Freedom Park is 25. Snapdragon is 30 in San Diego. You've got to be high 20s now. You've got to be high 20s. You've got to be where Geodis is. You can't be where Q2 is, because Q2, you can't expand. You're stuck. And so that point when Anthony Precourt gets mad, and you know he will. I mean, he might be, a little gray in the temples when that happens. But Anthony Precourt is going to want to extract something from Austin, Texas to make Q2 bigger, or to go someplace else, or go play at DKR for a while because he thinks he can. I mean, it's right now, Major League Soccer needs to be in bigger buildings. They really do. And anybody who's coming into this league that's new, you've got to be 30. You've got to be 30. I don't know how many times I can say this. You've got to be 30. You've got to be 30. You've got to be 30. 25 in Miami's too small.
Yes. No, it is. It needs to be. It needs to be bigger for the sake of ambition. You don't have to put 40. We're not saying you have to do that unless you just want to get wild. But this is also part of hey, Miami. We talked about, what's your plan post Messi?
Yeah.
Messi should be your launching off point. It should be hey, we have Messi. This is fun. We're going to do some fun things together. Also, we're going to start laying the groundwork for building momentum for a life after him in a couple of years, whenever that is.
Yeah. I mean, because there's this
So
thing called the World Cup that's coming,
But get a little bit bigger, a little more aspiration there.
Yes.
More than 25, 29. I could live at 29. Do that.
Yeah. And to Rich's point, he says, but this is MLS. It's American soccer. Other than 10 teams, no one's getting a consistent 15,000 every game. And the minute team performance drops, attendance drops.
It does, but you're also doing these sorts of things looking to the future. You're expecting things to continue to grow. Then I think you want to anticipate growth.
Yeah.
In where you're looking at now with attendance, you want it to be bigger. Sorry, the rest of the country can't be like the South. Sorry.
Yes. That's kind of where we at, Oh no. Do I, please tell me that that's just a column. Okay, that's just a video thing. I didn't want to see that. It looks like overseas Spanish football chiefs are calling for Luis Rubiales, to design. The regional presidents of the Spanish Football Association are requesting his immediate resignation. Widespread criticism, obviously, for the incident. So Monday's timelines. just to recap Monday to lead into today and where we are. Yesterday, remember, Luis Rubiales' mother went on hunger strike in their local church over an inhumane hunt against her son. The cousin of Luis Rubiales has called on Jenny Hermoso to, quote, tell the truth, end quote. The Spanish FA decided that they wanted to be suspended. Spanish FA, they wanted to be suspended from all European competitions. Basically, quoting Nick, they just wanted to nuke it from orbit. It's like, tell you what, Spanish FA goes to UEFA and they sit there and they say, just suspend us from all European competitions. Obviously, that's not going to go well with teams like Barca and Real Madrid and ATLUTD and Sevilla. UEFA was basically like, nope, we're not doing that. That's not happening. That is not going to happen. Then Spanish prosecutors have opened pre-trial inquiries into the incident. And now the regional presidents of the Spanish FA are requesting Luis Rubiales to resign immediately. So that's where we are. The regional presidents are now like, bruh, get out. But that's where we are in Spain, in stupidity down here. But Nick's along the lines of the great thinker Billy Napier, scared money don't make money when it comes to capacities and things like that. So, yes, absolutely true. Trying to see what's going on with with Atlanta United. Let's see. Catching back into the timeline, and I know that I'm like incredibly schizophrenic. I know that shocks all of you. Orlando has Charlotte tomorrow night. Abby wanted to know about Orlando, and it's Orlando and Charlotte. So tomorrow, hour number one is going to be the midweek whip around. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later, in addition to everything. Jarrett, Will is saying, tell your kids about Saba. If you don't, someone else will.
Yeah. Also, I was put in my place yesterday about my Ben Olsen campaign that, yeah, it's probably not going to be him. Sadly, it's going to be going, that trophy's going to be residing in St. Louis.
Oh, with Cornell?
Yeah. Sadly, even though Ben Olsen at the very least should be getting down ballot votes.
No doubt. Absolutely.
In the same way that Phil Neville should have gotten them last year in Miami. Hopefully that doesn't mean that Ben Olsen gets fired a year later. The way that Phil Neville was fired in Miami. I still would love to get more background. I'd love to see somebody sit down and do a background on that with Neville. He was able to kind of extract that. Because, yeah, man, they were going above and beyond last year, but they probably should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had injuries this year. It wasn't clicking. And they're like, hey, you're gone. Also, we're bringing in Messi and Tata, and like we are taking out the engine because we're putting a transformer in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, tell your kids about Saba because he has had less than 30 minutes on the field. And already he appears to be in the same book with Almada, which is good. Yeah, it's the damn UN up top right now.
Hey,
you got Greece, Portugal, Argentina, and the Republic of Georgia represented.
Well, and the thing is that
we got to bring back the nation of domination with this.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be fantastic. Question to the floor was brought in by Rich. Rich goes, but is it just me or have I heard not that much press about St. Louis this year? Normally expansion teams get shoved down your throats.
It's been a weird year, though. Usually you're right. And I think I've seen plenty about them from the mothership.
Yeah.
But you had Leagues Cup, which they did not do well in. you had Messi come in middle of the season.
Yep.
You had Champions League at the beginning, where you had teams right there at the very end trying to get in. It feels like it was really busy. Had a lot of weird storylines this year. Also, do we sometimes kind of tilt our head at the absurdity
Of course.
of a that is at times early this season was almost literally getting handed goals from other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe some of it also has to do with the fact that the West has been bad for the most part. Like again,
Yeah.
again, Atlanta being second place in the West right now.
Yeah.
The West hasn't been as good. None of that is to take away from what St. Louis has done. It just hasn't. I feel like there's so many huge storylines that have gone on this year that kind of not only like transcend the season but transcend the league as we know it.
Mm-hmm. No,
So
I mean
yeah,
and when you're a team, well, and I will say, I think that Rich St. Louis got a lot of press early when they went out to that hot start. Then it kind of calmed down after they kind of calmed down. So I think that the shiny nature of the shiny nature of them and their start is what got them the noise. But I don't think that ever since they cooled off, then everybody's like, oh, it's St. Louis. And then when you have injuries to guys like Lewin, and you're not scoring as many goals, then it's Nico Giacchini, great. So it wasn't something that jumps off the page. Their hot start, shocking everybody, that jumped off the page. But ever since they kind of cooled off, then it did kind of cool off on its own. Nick's with a question. Nick says, since Cincinnati's headed here tomorrow, what do we think about Brandon Vasquez asking for Messi's autograph after their match?
he's doing the same thing we would have done, right? I mean, I know we hold pro athletes to a different standard.
Yeah.
Not just on the field but off the field. Whether that's fair or not kind of depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you pull him aside and, hey man, next time can you do that in the locker room?
Do that in the tunnel, please.
Yeah, can you do that in the tunnel? After maybe not after a game where he just ripped your soul out.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe do that. Like, don't want to trade jerseys on the field. Cool. Like that's all I had. That's standard. That's what happens. But yeah, to do the to do like the asking for an autograph thing after you just yacked up a 2-goal lead to him.
Uh-huh.
I can understand why people were annoyed by it.
Yes, definitely. Like, dude, you got whacked, and then you sit there and you ask for an autograph. I can definitely understand why people would be hot about it.
Yeah, it's one of those. Just do it in the locker room.
Yes,
do it in the tunnel. Just pick a better place.
Yes, there are better places than out in the open.
Because I don't blame him one bit for doing it, though. Like that's the thing is like that man wanted. Yeah, I would 100% be asking for one too. So
Yeah,
I will not sit here and tell you that I would not be.
Yes. So I mean, it's all in. It's all in. I think you're a young kid. There's a place to do it. The place to do it is not out on the field after you just got whacked. Nick's with thoughts of Toronto back in hour number 1. The fact they hired Chris Armas was your first clue they were asleep at the wheel.
Not only that, but they hired Chris Armas and didn't give him a team that does Chris Armas things. Chris Armas has been part of the Red Bull system.
Yep.
You kind of know what you're getting with Chris Armas.
Yep.
It's like going to buy like a Chevy S10 and trying to drift with it. Why did you go get that?
It's like, you know, because you end up with that S10 kind of that's a rather large center of gravity on an S10 that you're trying to drift with. That takes some serious doing, and there's a lot of hopping going on when that happens.
Yeah, four cards, right? He's putting
True.
that towards a tech degree to use, but
Yes.
if you put some cinder blocks on the bed, you can do it. But it's not ideal, and it wasn't ideal to put Chris Armas in charge of Toronto. Toronto just lost their damn mind.
Mm-hmm. Because
and it was weird.
He fits so well with his philosophy.
But that's the thing, though. It could if you built the team like that, but you did not.
Nope.
You tried to keep the same team that had been playing the same way.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did, and that's totally on you.
Yes.
Nick says, is the Canadian men's recent success a blip on the radar, or can they sustain and build on it? With this Fed behind them, I have my doubts on success, especially with how important dual nationals can be. Who would want to play for them if they had a choice?
Well, see, the question there becomes, let's ask and this is going to be the question we ask, and I don't say it in the intention of being unfair to Herdman.
Yeah.
How much of it is Herdman, and how much of it is the fact that Canada is in, for them, a golden generation?
Yeah.
Because if someone else comes in, and there's an Athletic, the Athletic has an article I haven't had a chance to read this morning. The Athletic has an article out about his exit.
Yeah, we went through that.
It teases the divided locker room. I haven't had a chance to read it, so I won't speak to it. But if someone else goes in there and does the job, then does that kind of shatter the mystique a bit?
Yeah.
If someone goes in there and struggles, on the other hand, and it doesn't click, does that build the mystique? But I think you can also, as I say that, you can also spin things however you want, because you can also spin it in the sense that everything is a mess right now for Canada's national team. Not just John Herdman leaving. The whole damn thing is an absolute mess. It is. We remember we said this before when Atlanta was struggling. Like, hey, Atlanta's struggling. Yeah. LAFC was the team that you feared that your team was.
Mm-hmm.
Canada's FA right now is the mess that you fear that your FA is, unless you are Spain, in which case that's a whole different kind of mess. Yep. But that is the kind of mess that you are always afraid and feel like your team is. Because at least your federation can schedule friendlies because they can afford to do it.
Yep.
I want to see who takes that job next. It's going to be a damn near impossible job.
Yeah.
Because why like you're walking into a situation where failure is not guaranteed, but it feels like it's going to be really easy to fail because everything's chaotic, which sucks because, kind of to your point, John, with the dual nationals, you have a lot of really talented dual nationals. You have a lot of really talented players who committed to Canada already. Mm-hmm. How much are you able to take advantage of these guys being in their prime?
Yeah, exactly. Bart, I just want to know what their salary offering could be, considering they have zero money. But hey, Phil Neville's up there, so maybe he'll just take the job for free. I don't know if that's going to be the case. We got a little bit of this, and it's local, and it's very, very cool, and something that we've seen a lot of. Maybe if I'd hit the right one and actually take the music away and actually hit the right notes. Johnny Vial's been called up by El Tree for 3 friendlies for the U18. So Johnny Vial is heading to Slovenia to represent El Tree in the U18.
Good.
What's
good? That's awesome.
Johnny Vial has been nuts. When he's been healthy, he has been an insane talent to see grow. He really has.
Yes, he's been one of those guys who benefited from playing in USL because I don't say it in like a dismissive, toxic way, but it toughened him up. He had to get tougher, and it did. He's still undersized, but he got tougher.
Yes.
But Johnny Vial is so damn good on the ball. Look, we know Nick Firmino is the bright spot this year, and what is for the two is a window for playoffs that is closing rapidly.
Yep.
Which is a really disappointing season overall because you wanted to make playoffs, you wanted to make some noise. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. That being said, Johnny Vial's been one of the good parts when he's been able to be healthy. So, good for him to keep getting these opportunities and. Hopefully he's able to keep growing through the season and through the off season because some of these guys now you're getting into a situation where like him and Alan Carlton were like Carlton's easier because Carlton you just want to feed him a jar of peanut butter every day. Just put some weight on him because
go to the training table, son.
He's got all those tendencies to be like a 6'8" who can like a ball playing 6 even.
Yeah.
I think he also has that dog in him, but he does not have the size right now to be that dog.
Right.
But he can spray the ball around really well. Got to get bigger, and Johnny's got to get bigger. But Johnny's also part of it is Johnny's just short. You'd love to see him get a little bit bigger, a little bit more sturdy. But I'm very happy for him that he's getting these opportunities to continue to shine.
Yep. Also, Bart, I know that it looks like Berhalter is expected to name his roster this week for the September friendlies against Uzbekistan and Oman. So that's part of your homework also when you come in tomorrow morning at 10:30. Question from Tom Russo. So what are we thinking for tomorrow? Does Cincy have everyone available? If so, he's going draw. And I think that's one of the big questions because you are in this stretch of matches, and at the same time, you are also 11 points clear. And at some point, you're going to sit there and you might have to just kind of think about some kind of rotation at some point because you go and you host Orlando this weekend at TQL. So this is, for me, this is a question that I will have. With Cincinnati, what does Cincinnati look like? Considering they're coming out of the weekend, they're coming out of Open Cup, and now they have this match, which is sandwiched in between a match at home where you're pretty ridiculous. What do you do in this match if you're Cincinnati? You're 11 points clear, you're on the road, and you've got a match at home against Orlando this weekend. Or you're 12-0-1 this year.
Yeah, I mean that's but if you feel good about that, your home has been a fortress. Do you ever think it and say, hey, we can go down there, and if we can get something out of Atlanta, then we try and do that. But I mean, I think both teams are feeling pretty. Cincinnati's going to be, glum after spitting the bit in U.S. Open Cup.
That's true.
They responded nicely this weekend, not necessarily against the best of talents, but you don't apologize for beating bad teams. You just do the job that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
We'll see how they manage it because Atlanta's going to be feeling good. It's 180 minutes plus without giving up a goal. You haven't given up a goal since early in the Cruz Azul game. Yeah, you've given up some chances, but you've done the job.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to give up some chances against Cincinnati when they press you. And you're probably going to see some moments similar to what you've seen maybe when Red Bulls came earlier this season, where you try and draw Cincinnati up the field and you try and attack in behind. You try and get them up the field. You try and compress them, and you try and create the space for Xande Silva or Lobshanica. Or honestly, if you're going to do that, and if Saba can't go 90, do you start Mosquera again and say, hey, we're going to compress the field and then try and get in behind them, and we're just going to ask Mosquera to do the thing where he runs really damn fast.
Yeah.
You're going to have options. You've got Tristan Muyamba, who has just been a damn revelation.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious if they have asked Mateus Josetu to turn out his pockets yet, because he's keeping Hani Mukhtar in there, and you're going to ask him to do something similar with Acosta, which is a really tough task. It's a different task. Hani Mukhtar is best player in this league on the counter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Acosta is a different animal just because he's wily.
Mm-hmm.
And he is better on the dribble.
Yes.
And he's dangerous.
Yes, he is. And I'll talk about all of that tomorrow. Hutch wanted to know the numbers, and it is plus 106 for Atlanta United, draws a plus 274, and this is again in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. SC Cincinnati to win on the road tomorrow is a plus 229. Those are the numbers as of right now. Jarrett, you've got Real World, right?
I do.
All right. Well, then we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. There goes Jarrett. Let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo and stuff to watch today. And so stuff to watch. BN has Libertadores and Sudamericana at 6 and 8:30. BN and BN Espanol is your simulcaster. If you don't have BN, go to Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the network, helps out Fanatis, and gets you hooked. You get all the Brasileiro package. You get a lot of the South American games. You get all the BNs from South America to Middle East, North Africa. You get all that stuff. You get TFC, you get CDO, you get Gold TV, you get for the fans. There's a lot. 6 and 8:30 Libertadores, Internacional and Bolivar, and then Estudiantes and Corinthians is at 8:30. FS2 has the league that I'm not watching. ACC Extra has a lot of 3 matchups on the men's side in soccer. English, four-letter. Four-letter plus has Carabao Cup. Remember, Fulham and Tottenham. That's at 2:30. Tottenham is wearing their double chocolate swirl jerseys that just look hideous. I think on that alone, you root for Fulham. Salford City and Leeds is at 3 o'clock on the plus in Carabao Cup. Men's and women's action also available on the plus. Fox Soccer Plus has the Central American Cup at 6 and 8. Saprissa playing Coban Imperial at 8 o'clock for those of you that get Fox Soccer Plus. Serie B, Sampdoria and Venezia is at 2:30. Champions League playoffs on Paramount Plus. 3 o'clock, a triple header. Galatasaray, Molde, Panathinaikos, and Sporting Braga, and Young Boys and Maccabi Haifa. That is all at 3 o'clock. And that is all on Paramount Plus. So Abby's been delaying work. Glad we could delay work as much as we could for you. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Manchester United considering a surprise move for Spurs' Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Bayern Munich looking to secure a loan deal for Scott McTominay and could allow Ryan Gravenberch to move to Old Trafford on a loan. Al Ittihad ready to test Liverpool's resolve with a $162 million, 129 million pound bid for Mo Salah, despite the team saying that he is not for sale. Quoting Ted DiBiase, the $1 million man, everybody's got a price. Manchester United have inquired about Brentford defender Rico Henry as they're looking for replacements for injured left back Luke Shaw. That's from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Manchester United set to reject West Ham's latest offer for Harry Maguire. Ten Hag is keen on keeping him. West Ham have agreed to personal terms on Corinthians forward Yuri Alberto, expected to complete a permanent switch in the next 24 hours. Chelsea considering a late move on Emile Smith-Rowe. From Arsenal, Barcelona pair Ferran Torres and Rafinha also being considered by the Blues. 4-letter paper. Spurs have entered talks with Forest over a deal for Brennan Johnson. Formal bid yet to be submitted. Look for something in the neighborhood of 40 to 50. Otherwise, Forest isn't going to move. Barcelona expect to complete a loan deal for Joao Cancelo in the coming days. Forest are closing in on the signing of Wilfred Ndidi from Leicester. Sorry, Knicks. But Bayern are also interested. Liverpool pushing to sign PSV Eindhoven's Johan Bakayoko. Everton, Burnley, and Palace also interested. Forest have submitted a bid close to €9 million for Benfica and Greece keeper Odysseus Vlachodimos. That's from Fabrizio Romano. I guess they're looking for competition between the sticks for Matt Turner. Forest also close to completing a swap deal for Bologna midfielder Nicolas Dominguez, which will see Remo Freuler go the other way. Leeds have made an approach for Spurs right back Jed Spence on a season-long loan. Al Ittihad also interested in Liverpool's Joe Gomez, but the Reds have no intention of selling. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Fred appears to have confirmed 25-year-old Turkey keeper Altay Bayındir's imminent move to Manchester United by wishing his Fenerbahce teammate well at Old Trafford. That is the gossip, rumor, and innuendo from that side. Also, let's see what we have going live. Let's see. Is Mark Cucurella joining on loan from Chelsea? That's another question. Lukaku traveling to Italy to complete his Roma loan from Chelsea. Mateus Nunes is still on strike, trying to force a move to Manchester City for somewhere in the neighborhood of £60 million. Let's see. Are we missing anybody? Are we missing any of the other movements? Nunez has gone on strike. He's looking for 60. Wolves have to look at FFP. Means it's unlikely for Wolves unless Nunez is sold. So FFP restrictions could be coming for Wolves unless they sell Nunez. Final week of the window for West Ham. We mentioned Yuri Alberto and we mentioned Harry Maguire. Lingard continues to train with West Ham. Mauricio Pochettino says something could happen with Chelsea. Always bet on something happening with Chelsea. Absolutely. Eintracht Frankfurt rejected PSG's offer for Randall Colomawani of €80 million. Decision was relayed to PSG directly by Frankfurt sporting director Marcus Kroesche. Negotiations are continuing. Frankfurt holding out for a figure closer to €100 million. So you're looking at a £17.2 million difference or €20 million. Hugo Ekitike's name is also attached to negotiations. Bayern have sanctioned Benjamin Pavard's switch to Inter Milan. Deal agreed several days ago. €30 million plus another 3 in add-ons. Medical scheduled to take place tomorrow. Everton, Tom Russo made a move. They've agreed a £25.75 million deal with Udinese for Portuguese striker Beto. He has signed a 4-year deal. 10 times, 34 appearances in Italy last term, becomes the 5th signing and the 4th forward of the summer window. So Beto from Udinese. And looks like, let's see, I think that's probably it for today. Obviously, we'll have more for tomorrow. Prum and Proper will be out on Thursday to get you ready for the weekend. What other stuff did I have on the list this morning before we exit? Oh, yeah. The thing with Philippe Auclair. All right, so Samuel Eto'o on his X, he is the president of the Cameroonian Football Federation. So on his X, on his 280-character app, he posted the following. Win great prizes at 1xBet. Bet on CAF Super Cup matches to win computers, smartphones, and consoles. Use a code. You get a bonus. There you go. There's a bit of an issue with that. Philippe Auclair, who is a must-follow for great investigations in the world of soccer. Fantastic work that he and our friends at Yosemar Football do. Auclair reminds us that the president of the Cameroonian FA is paid a portion of the gamblers' bets for that promotional offer. As to how and this is Auclair's words, as to how this relationship with controversial 1xBet has been allowed to continue and prosper by FIFA, only they know. Eau Claire. It's true that 1xBet is also CAF's official partner, despite operating illegally in many African countries. Back in February, our friends at Yosemar Football had a piece out, and Eau Claire was the one who wrote it. Back in 2018, AFCON, or the African Football Confederation, the CAF, entered a 10-year-long sponsorship deal worth close to 60 million euro with 1xBet. CAF could do, and this is Eau Claire, CAF could do, at least in financial terms, with more commercial partners as generous as 1xBet, who committed just under 60 million euro over a period of 10 years to have its brand associated with the African Confederation's marquee tournaments. Yosemar Football back in February approached the general secretary with a list of questions related to 1xBet's status as an official sponsor, highlighting the recent bankruptcy decision affecting 1x Corp by the Dutch Supreme Court, multiple claims of non-payment by former customers of the operator in Africa and elsewhere, the identity of its ultimate beneficial owners who are thought to be Russian citizens now living in Cyprus, and the response was this. CAF treats very seriously the questions raised by its commercial partnership, which was inherited from the previous administration. They're currently reevaluating the situation from a legal, financial, and ethical point of view with the support of external experts. They're not going to make any further comment. This was back in February. So CAF, by Philippe Eau Claire, they've been hemorrhaging money. That's his Eau Claire's words. Hemorrhaging money since Issa Hayatou was ousted in 2017. And now they say they're going to reevaluate the partnership, which is worth €6 million a year since it was finalized back in 2018. So the questions raised by Yosemar Football about 1xBet, they go, how do you catch water with your fingers? This is what it feels like when trying to understand how Africa's #1 online bookmaker operates, including the countries where any kind of gambling is illegal, such as Somalia. And that much is true. 1xBet, for the time being, operates like no other bookmaker does. Runs a myriad of affiliates organized in a pyramidal system of franchises and franchisees, not unlike a restaurant chain, which would enable venues to use its name and logo in exchange for a share of the proceeds. What's more, 1xBet is only the most prominent brand of a portfolio, which includes former PSG partner 22Bet, MELBet, BetWinner, and a number of others. So, you have an online betting service paying the CAF. The head of the Cameroonian Federation gets a cut if folks use a promo code. You know, the cut of the proceeds. And in Africa, you have a nation where gambling is illegal in some countries. Yes, Hutch, that's a long way of saying that money is fungible. Absolutely true. So, yes. So, follow Philippe Eau Claire on the Twitters. Massively fantastic work. And also, 2 days ago, Action for Albion, you know, how we have Jess on here to talk about how things are in such bad shape for her club Reading. Same can be said for the frustration attached to West Bromwich Albion. 12th minute of the upcoming home game, September 2nd against Huddersfield. They're going to be distributing 10,000 posters to fans on their way into the Hawthorns. For sale, full sale. Albion needs a takeover. They want their current ownership out. So keep an eye on what's going on at West Brom. The Ultras are not happy, and they want the ownership out. Hashtag lie out now, LAI out now. So West Brom, they're going to have their own protest on September 2nd. So that's another thing to keep an eye on when it comes to ownership and disgruntledness, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, 4-card, exactly. Cash improprieties, don't believe it. Exactly. Impropriety is such a subjective term. And let's end the day with what Rich posted on the Twitters, where apparently Atlanta United or Mercedes-Benz has won the robot war, or has started to win the robot wars. Mercedes-Benz has a new robot guard dog, Benzie. Real-time video running in 30-minute shifts. Benzie's going to do an 11-acre circuit. So the next handful of years, it looks like the Terminator is probably going to be chasing after John Connor with Benzie's help at Mercedes-Benz. And there's video at FOS, Front Office Sports. They have the video of Benzie, courtesy of AT&T Business and Asylum Robotics. Yes, exactly true. Hutch, they're queued up to the point where they catch the Skynet virus. That is absolutely 100% correct. Yep, robot dogs at FOS on Twitter, Front Office Sports. We get some of our stories from them. But yep, Benzie, the robot dog, is now patrolling at Mercedes-Benz. I don't know if Benzie will allow you to pet it. So I don't know if robots have his or her designations. But Benzie is going to be patrolling, thanks to our friends at AT&T and Asylum Robotics. What's up with NYC? Yes, robot dog's gone bad. Yeah, exactly right. Rich, very, very busy here in the final minutes of today's show. Maxime Chanot. Okay, Maxime Chanot is out the door at NYC. Okay. Chanot is departing NYC, giving a final interview. Okay, so Chanot gives a final interview, but we do not have a destination. Where's my NYCFC notes? Do I have my NYCFC notes? I just have post-match notes from NYC and NYCFC 2. I do not have official word on Maxime Chanot yet, but Maxime Chanot's given an exit interview on social media. So that means he is leaving NYCFC. 8 seasons, 3 trophies. And Chanot, he departs. Okay. Heading to AC Ajaccio in Ligue 2. Okay. So leaving to, I guess, go closer to home. So Maxime Chanot goes to Ligue 2 side AC Ajaccio, leaving NYCFC. And as you can probably understand, the fan reaction is somewhat calm. Well, I mean, Ricky, you remember the one, the short one that, it's about that big that they posted at Yankee Stadium? That's one I remember. But the other two you'll have to, hang on. Let's see what we got. NYCFC trophies. Before we go. Of course, if I could spell trophies, we'd be in business. I love how they say you can buy it and you can make a trophy and buy it. MLS Cup Campeones. MLS Cup and Campeones Cup. Those are 2 of them. Yes, I accept all the cookies for Transfermarkt. I've already logged into you this morning. Goodness gracious. They've only won 2. MLS Cup and Campeones Cup. So I don't know what the third one is. But, or maybe they claimed one for, being the most popular team in the city. I guess Supporter Shield. Probably that's the third one. Yeah. So Eastern Conference title, Campeones Cup, MLS Cup. That'd be my guess. So those 3. Yeah. So there you go. And I know that we're going to be stuck with robot Santas and robot dogs stuck in our heads, and Benzie now patrolling at Mercedes-Benz. So tomorrow, here's what's going on. Tomorrow is reversed because of our guests. So hour number 1 is going to be midweek whip around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later. We'll go over everything in Major League Soccer in hour number 1, getting you ready for Dylan at 10 o'clock and Bart with all of the international stuff going on. Berhalter, Spain, Canada, September rosters coming close, reffing down here, 10:30 as always. That's Bart's segment on Wednesdays. And so we'll have a lot to talk about at 10:30, and we will go from there, and that'll be 10:30 till 11. And then it's Atlanta and Cincinnati, and it'll be 7 o'clock with a pregame show with Mike and Jason. 92.9 The Game, 92.9thegame.com on the Odyssey app, or if you're like me and they're on the road, I listen over stereo tuner, and I can be within about 30 seconds either way of the Apple broadcast. So midweek whip around, 9 o'clock hour, 10 o'clock Dylan Butler, 10:30 Bart talking internationals and Berhalter and reffing down here. So that's, yes, Bart just appears out of nowhere. So thanks to everybody who chimed in today. I know we got in a lot of talk about Major League Soccer because that's what we do around here, and we'll do it again tomorrow. So for all of us here, to all of you there, be safe. Weather's going to get weird, especially for those of you south of the Nat line, and it's going to be weird and stormy, and take care of those that don't like weird weather and stormy weather and things like that. We'll be back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow. We'll talk stuff. That's the official term. Mucha plati, I'll play it safe. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Stay dry. We'll catch up tomorrow.